What if the plainest plant in your house, the one you have watered without really looking at for 3 years, is worth more than every other plant on that windowsill combined? 10 of these ordinary houseplants have sold for hundreds, a few for thousands, and one of them is the single most common plant in America. Here is the truth most people never hear. A plant being hard to find in a shop does not make the plant on your shelf valuable. Millions get sold every year, and most of them are worth $10 or $12, and that is a fair price. Nobody ever taught you to look at the leaf. Value does not live in the name. It lives in the variegation, the size, the growth points, and whether the plant has held its pattern. Let us find out if it is sitting in your living room right now. 10. Hoya. If you have a waxy trailing plant with thick, stiff leaves and stems that go bare and leggy by February, your first thought is probably that it is a bit dull. The kind of plant that sat on a shelf at your aunt's house for 20 years and never did anything. That instinct makes sense. Look closer at the leaves. Some Hoya carry cream and pink running through the blade itself, and those forms sell far above the plain green ones. A well-grown splash variegated Hoya with strong color has traded in the low hundreds. The identical plant in plain green sits at 15. Same species, same pot, same shelf. Here is your test tonight. Take a leaf between your fingers and hold it up to the window. You are looking for cream or pink that runs irregularly through the middle of the leaf, not a tidy line around the edge. Edge banding is common. Interior splashing is not. Count the vines coming out of the soil. Not the leaves, the vines. 3 or 4 established stems mean somebody grew this plant slowly for years, and that is the part nobody can rush. A cutting rooted last spring will never look like it, whatever you pay. And the loss I see most often. A variegated Hoya cut back hard in autumn because it had gone leggy and untidy, and every colored stem went into the bin. What grew back was plain green because the color lives in the growth you removed. The plant survives, the value does not. 9. Philodendron. This one hides in more living rooms than you would guess. A heart-shaped climber on a moss pole, dark green, bought as a housewarming gift and never thought about again. No one faults you for walking past it. Turn the newest leaf toward the light. The one to know is the pink princess. Dark, almost black-green leaves with genuine pink sections cut through them. Strong specimens have sold in the hundreds. At the top of the market, they went considerably higher than that. But here is where I have to be careful with you, because this is the trap. There is another plant that was sold hard as a pink philodendron, and it is called the pink Congo. It looks close enough in a shop. The pink was induced with chemical treatment, and within a year or so, every leaf reverts to plain green and stays that way. Permanently. Nothing brings it back. Your test. Look at where the leaf meets the stem. On a true pink princess, the pink continues down onto the petiole itself, and often onto the stem, in blocks and sections rather than a wash. Then look at the newest leaf, the one that just unfurled. Real variegation keeps arriving on new growth. Treated plants stop producing it, and the loss on this one runs the other direction. I have watched people pay pink princess money for a pink Congo and find out 8 months later, when the last pink leaf hardened off green. There was nothing to salvage. They did not overpay for a plant that died. They overpaid for a plant that is perfectly healthy and worth about $15. Read the petiole. It is telling you which one you have. 8. Monstera. This is the one everybody has heard of, and that is exactly why it costs people money. The split-leaf plant in the corner of every cafe. You know it well enough that you stopped looking at it. Turn to the newest leaf and check whether the white is still arriving. There are two variegated Monstera worth knowing, and they behave completely differently. The albo carries irregular white sections, sometimes half a leaf, sometimes a thin sliver, and no two leaves agree. The Thai constellation is speckled and creamy all over, and it came out of a laboratory in Thailand. That difference is not cosmetic. It decides what your plant does next. Thai constellation variegation is stable. It was fixed in tissue culture, and every leaf comes out patterned. Albo variegation is unstable. It drifts. A cutting can revert to plain green and never come back, or it can throw a leaf that is almost entirely white. And an almost entirely white leaf is not the jackpot. That is the part nobody tells you. White tissue has no chlorophyll, which means it cannot feed the plant. A fully white cutting is a plant that is slowly starving, however beautiful it looks in the photograph. Your test tonight. Look at the last two leaves the plant produced, not the impressive old ones. If the variegation is still coming through on new growth, you have something. If the last three leaves came out solid green, the plant has reverted and the value went with it. Then count the growth points. One node with one growing tip is a cutting. Several established points is a plant, and the gap between those two things is most of the price. 7. And this is the one where I have to slow you down because it is the most expensive mistake in this whole video. You see a plant described as rare. Your heart jumps. Somebody paid $400 for one of these on the internet, and you have one on the shelf behind you. Here is the honest truth, and I respect you too much to dress it up. Rare is a shop word. It describes how hard a plant was to find in the month somebody wrote the label, and it tells you almost nothing about what your plant is worth today. Here is why. Most of these plants can be tissue cultured. A laboratory takes a scrap of tissue and produces thousands of identical plants, and 18 months to 2 years after a plant becomes desirable, they arrive, all at once. The scarcity that set the price simply ends. You can watch it happen in the numbers. Plants that traded for well over $1,000 in 2021 sit at 20 or 30 now. Not because they are worse plants. They are exactly the same plants. There are just 500,000 of them. I know some of you paid those prices. I am not going to tell you the market is coming back to meet you, because I do not think it is. There is still a test worth doing, and it is a quick one. Search the plant's name and look at what it costs in ordinary garden centers this week, not what an article from 4 years ago says it once fetched. Rarity is not a property of your plant. It is a property of the market, and the market moved. But before we get to the top 5, there is something about all of this that most people never stop to realize. The plants that turn out to be worth real money almost never look expensive. They look like a mess. An overgrown thing in a cracked plastic nursery pot, half its leaves scarred, shoved behind the sofa because it outgrew the shelf it was bought for. That is what a valuable houseplant actually looks like in a house. Appearance keeps lying to people. What decides value is a small set of signals: the leaf itself, the number of growth points, the size, whether the pattern is holding. Those things are learnable, and once you see them, you cannot stop seeing them. Now let us get back to the rankings. Number 6. Anthurium. Not the glossy red one from the supermarket. I mean the velvet-leaved ones, crystallinum and clarinervium, with heavy dark leaves and pale veins running across them like a map. These are valued on something refreshingly honest. Not novelty, not hype. Leaf size and vein contrast. A mature crystallinum with leaves the width of a dinner plate and bright silver veining has sold in the hundreds, and the same species at postcard size sits at 30. Your test tonight. Measure the largest leaf across its widest point, then look at the veins under a lamp. You want strong pale lines against a dark velvet surface, and you want that contrast on the newest leaf too. And the loss. These get repotted into cute decorative pots with no drainage, and the roots suffocate over a winter. 6 years of leaf growth ends in a bin in March. 5. Alocasia, the dramatic one. Big arrow-shaped leaves, hard veins, a plant that looks designed rather than grown. And every winter it does the same thing. The leaves yellow, then droop, then drop, until you are looking at a pot of bare soil. So you throw the pot out. Almost everyone does. It looks completely dead, and there is nothing in it. Here is what the label never told you. Alocasia go dormant. That is not a plant dying. It is a plant doing exactly what it evolved to do when the light drops. And underneath the soil, there is a corm sitting there perfectly alive, waiting for March. Your test tonight, and this one takes 2 minutes. Tip the pot out over newspaper and feel through the soil. You are looking for a firm brown lump somewhere between a marble and a walnut. Press it gently. If it is solid, the plant is alive. If it gives under your thumb like a soft grape, that one is gone. Around the base of a mature corm, you will often find smaller ones, offsets, and each of those is a whole new plant. That matters, because size is where the money sits. A mature alocasia that has been building the same corm for 6 or 7 years throws leaves a young plant cannot match, and no amount of money shortens that. You cannot buy the years. And the loss I watch happen every January. A perfectly healthy plant, dormant exactly on schedule, carried out to the bin because the pot looked empty. It was not empty. Nobody had ever told them to look underneath. 4. Syngonium, the arrowhead plant. Fast, forgiving, sold everywhere. The plant people buy when they think they cannot keep plants alive. And some of them carry pink through the leaf so heavily that the whole plant looks like it was dipped. Those forms have sold well into the hundreds. But this one comes with a condition attached, and the condition is everything. Syngonium. Variegation is not always stable. A plant can throw beautiful pink for a year and then drift steadily back to green, and once it goes, it does not return. What holds it is light. Not direct sun, which scorches those pale sections, but bright, steady light through most of the day. Your test. Look at the last 3 leaves in order. If the pink is holding or increasing, the plant is stable in your conditions. If each new leaf is a little greener than the last, you are watching it revert in slow motion, and the answer is more light now. 3. And this one is not a plant at all. It is size. Age. The thing nobody can fake. A large mature specimen of an entirely ordinary species regularly beats a small young plant of a fashionable one. A Monstera with a trunk and 40 leaves against a rooted cutting of something rare. The common plant wins, and it is not close. The reason is simple. Tissue culture can produce 10,000 rare plants in a year. Nothing produces a 7-year-old plant, except 7 years. Your test tonight. Count the leaves and measure the longest one. That is the number that cannot be manufactured. 2. And this is the one that quietly costs the most, because the value is not in the plant. It is in what comes off it. Every mature plant on your shelf is a factory. A Monstera with 8 growth points is not one plant, it is 8, and the difference between selling it whole for $200 and taking 6 cuttings across a season is most of the money. Here is what almost nobody checks. Look along the stem for nodes, the small brown bumps where a leaf once joined, often with a root nub already pushing out. A cutting with a node roots and grows. A cutting without one, however many leaves it carries, will sit in water for 4 months looking healthy and then rot because it has no way to make a new stem. Your test. Run a finger down the stem and find the nodes. Count them. That number is how many plants you are actually holding. And in 20 years, I have watched more value lost to a plant sold whole in a hurry than to any bad purchase. 1. And it is almost certainly a plant you already own, or your mother did, or one you can picture on a shelf in your grandmother's kitchen right now. Pothos, the trailing green heart-shaped plant that grows in offices, in bathrooms, in windowless corridors under fluorescent light. So familiar, it has stopped being a plant and become furniture. Here is a truth that turns this whole video around. It is the most widely sold houseplant in the world, and that is exactly why an ordinary pothos is worth about $10. Fame is not value. The thing everyone recognizes is almost never the thing worth the most, because the whole world already has one. I will not inflate it for you. Most pothos are worth roughly what a sandwich costs. But this is the reframe I have been walking you toward for 10 items. The value was never in the name. There are variegated pothos, and the difference between one that trades at $10 and one that trades at $200 is the same handful of signals every plant tonight has been teaching you. Is the pattern holding on new growth? How many growth points? How long has somebody been growing it? So here is your final test, and it is the same skill every single item came down to. Do not look at the plant. Look at the newest leaf it made. Because the name on the label is the story somebody sold you, and the leaf is the truth. Everything worth money tonight was ordinary, familiar, easy to walk straight past. And every bit of it was decided in details most people never look at. If this made you want to go and turn over a few leaves, do me one small thing and like the video. It tells me to keep making these. And if you are not subscribed, that is where the next one lives. Then tell me down in the comments, what is the oldest plant in your house and who did it come from? Your mother, a grandmother, a house you helped clear. I read every one, and the story of who grew it is half the value. One last thing, and I mean it. Do not throw out a single pot before you look at what is underneath. Number 1 is probably in your living room right now. Go and look at the new leaf.